Hi guys, this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here with more of my collection papers. I know that I had promised that I was going to do some videos showing all the collection papers. So this is another one of those videos. There's a lot of papers to get through. So I'm going to just kind of like move them to the side and we'll do them one collection at a time. Obviously you may have already seen my video going through, you know, one lot of collection papers. This is more of them, and I will have some extra tips at the end, so stay tuned for those. So this is my yellow roses collection papers. So I'm not, I have to say, a very yellow kind of person, but yeah, I do actually really love these yellow collection. You know, they're very pretty, to be honest, even if you're not really a yellow fan like myself. I mean, for example, obviously this one, you've got lots of pinks and blues incorporated in it as well. You've got this page again with lots of pinks and blues and things. So if you're not, you know, truly kind of like that keen on yellow, like I'm not really, then this is a bit of a compromise. Like this one, for example, you've got lots of yellows, but you've also got the other colours as well. So I do actually really like it. This page here, in particular, I do find myself using this page quite a bit. It makes absolutely lovely backgrounds. You've got this page. Now I have printed these mainly, these collections that I'm going to be going through today, mainly I've printed them double-sided on top of the other ones that I've already shown you. So if, you know, at any point you see things on the back, then that's, you know, that's generally what it is basically I've printed them double-sided. But yeah, you get lots of different looks on here. So if you're kind of making anything like summery or spring-like, you know, and you want to incorporate some yellows, there's a whole bunch of gorgeous, yummy yellow shades in here. So really nice. And then you've got some different pages like this, you know, it's a bit more like ornate. I think this is quite oriental looking. So yeah, you've got different looks really going on. Lots of gorgeous background pages. The roses collection, the pink roses and this yellow roses, they tend to be really great for backgrounds and things like that in your journals. So they're not so much for, you know, necessarily fussy cutting pieces out, individual elements out of them, but they're absolutely lovely for making yummy backgrounds. And in case you're thinking, oh, you know, she's shown us these pages before, they're actually slightly different. So I'm just going to show you the other page that was similar to this. And then you can see obviously the differences. Well, I say I will, I'm now not able to find it. So okay, so it might have been this one, or is there another one? No, it must have been that one, which is, oh no, hold on, it's here. So you've got kind of different pages with subtle differences. So this one obviously much more blues and yellows, less pinks, or no pinks in fact. This one here, it's a more subtle subdued colour. So this is much deeper. This is kind of like a more subtle kind of colour. So, you know, you've got lots of different, you know, things to work with. This, for example, you've got like the vintage text and font in the background and things, and you've got plainer sort of versions of that. You've got this one, again, perfect for backgrounds and things. So I tend to use the things like the background pages more for like pockets. Obviously this one, you've got elements that you could fussy cut out and things like that. But, you know, different kind of ways that you can use these papers. And again, you know, if the papers look similar, they are different shades, you know, different shades, more muted, more bright, you know, maybe with pink, without pink, that kind of thing. So yeah, they all have different stuff going on, which I know sounds ridiculous, but honestly, those subtle differences sometimes are kind of the thing that you need. You know, you might find that actually things don't really go until you come across something with those subtle differences. So this one is my sewing collection paper, and I'm just going to just double check. So I've got my iPad to the side of me so that I can check the names of these as I'm going through them. So I've just moved my hot glue gun to the side. Right, so this one is the sewing collection in the blues and browns, and it's 28 pages. So that's this one. And the sewing collection papers, you've got a variety of both background style and pages where you can fussy cut the items out. So that one is one that I would call more of a sort of backgroundy type paper, along with this one. Now I've printed all of these on 120 GSM. I did do that with the last video as well when I did the other collection papers. And it's a presentation style paper, so they're very, very, very nice quality, you know, and obviously a much thicker paper than a copy paper. It does make a difference, to be honest, the paper that you use, but I did talk about this previously. If, of course, you know, you can't stretch to buying a presentation paper, hey, then copy paper is fine too. So, you know, you don't have to have the expensive paper. I mean, I spent a long time making journals and things without having the presentation paper. I think the problem is once you've tried it, it's quite hard to go back to the copy paper because it, oops, sorry, that one's just made it in there. We'll never know what was on that one, to be honest, because yeah, I've overprinted on something else. Oh, and that one as well. Oh my goodness, and this one. I've been doing such a mass load of printing, obviously, so it's hard to check every single sheet that comes off the printer, so please ignore the strip down the edge of this. But yeah, loads of lovely images. And yeah, what was I saying? Oh yes, it's quite hard to go back, to be honest. Once you've used the presentation paper or photo paper, it's quite hard to, you know, to go back because the quality is, it is superior, you know, there's no doubting it. I talked about all this obviously in the previous video, so I don't want to really kind of bore you to tears going back over it really. But yeah, I mean, I would just kind of say, if you can manage to afford it, I would recommend the presentation paper. But if you can't, then the copy paper would be fine. And to be honest, I find it's, I was going to say not necessarily more expensive. It's maybe you get less sheets per ream, is the main sort of difference that I would say. So, you know, kind of swings and roundabouts really. But so that is the blue and brown sewing collection. I then have the sewing collection in the pinks and greens. Absolutely love, love, love this pinks and green one, I have to say. I mean, I'm a bit of a green person. You know, I love, love, love the colour green. It's my favourite colour. Closely followed by pink, funnily enough. So, to be honest, this has got, you know, everything I could possibly want. And a bit like with the Avery collection, which we haven't seen yet in full detail, I've tried to do them in a way that they would coordinate quite nicely. So I'll just kind of bring in a sheet, for example, from the blue collection. So if I just bring in that sheet and, oh, I don't know, let me just find another one as well. Maybe that one. So they will have a subtle, what's the word, like overlap. So this has got obviously green elements in it, but as you can see, it's also got some brown elements. So if you bought the two sets, you could then mix and match, kind of, if you wanted to have a journal that was all the colours, you know, i.e. the blues and browns and greens and pinks, then they're all going to kind of coordinate quite nicely. So again, this one's from the blues and pinks. This one is from the pinks and greens. And you can see they would easily work well together because you've got elements from the pinks and the blues in the pinks and the greens. So, you know, it's quite a good sort of colour match. And I've tried to do that with most of the collection papers, especially if they have more than one colourway, you know, then they're going to hopefully work quite nicely together. So I don't you love that page? Oh my goodness, I just love it. Honestly, I love that shade of green. I don't know really, I don't know whether you call that a minty sort of green, I don't know, but I absolutely love it. So yeah, and again, you've got lots of sort of backgroundy pages and fussy cut type elements as well. So really, really nice. Now, a lot of these collection papers, I've done topper type pieces to coordinate with them as well. So, you know, you might not just have the collection pages, but also have some toppers, which, you know, that would hopefully be making it more versatile still. And, you know, all the pieces are already done for you. But also with these, you've got a lot of elements that you can fussy cut out individually. So, you know, effectively, you've got pieces that you can use for clusters, for making snippet rolls, or snippet strips, as I prefer to call them, really. All of those kinds of things you've got in here. Now, I would say that I generally don't like using presentation paper for topper type items. So, for example, this one, if I was to fussy cut some of these elements out and use them as pieces on a cluster or a snippet strip, I would probably prefer to print this on thicker paper. So a note about paper here would be, I tend to use the 230 GSM, and it's a photo quality paper. Now, again, I kind of like flit in and out with the brands that I use depending on what's available, because you can't always get the same brand. So, you know, I tend to use 230 GSM, and it's the matte photo paper. More often than not, it's double-sided. So, you know, if you wanted to print double-sided, then you could. So that was the sewing collection. This one here is the Regency era collection. So again, let me just search this up on my iPad just beside me so that I can just clarify the amount of pages and things like that. So you get 33 pages in this Regency era collection. And again, I mean, Regency is a kind of style and an era that I just really feel drawn to. So yeah, I hope that it's kind of like coming through in this kit. So again, lots of sort of background style pages, as I would call them, and just fantastic for using as backgrounds, as, again, you know, bases for pockets and things like that. But you also do have one or two which have incorporated elements for fussy cutting. This page, for example, absolutely gorgeous. And what you could do is print this like 2 to a page, so it would be then much smaller, and then cut this in half and make them as journal cards. So that's kind of like a little tip there. And we're going to kind of play around with that a little bit towards the end of the video, where we're going to do some things like that. But lots and lots of really pretty stripy papers. I mean, I think the stripes are quite nice for adding, you know, different elements. And the other thing they're quite nice for is you can obviously use these to make, oops, sorry, I don't know what's gone on with my printer there. They're quite good for making things like the decorative edge strips, because you can obviously, you know, tear these down or cut these down, and then, you know, you'd have hundreds then of different pieces that you can add to a decorative edge strip. So for example, this one, you could cut out all those center strips. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 center strips that then you could mix and match with other papers. You know, you could just layer that onto some book page, for example, or some sheet music, or, you know, onto a different printable, or onto some scrapbook paper, and then just stitch through the middle of that, and straight away you've got a completely different looking decorative edge strip to, you know, something else. So, you know, very quickly and easily, I think you can make some really nice things from these. You've got some of these pages with these beautiful images here, which again, you can just cut these out and use them as individual elements in your journals. So a lot of really nice different things that you can do with these. Lots and lots of different colorways. Whoops, they're all quite you know, quite bright and nice. So I mean, I'm very attracted to bright colors, but yeah, I think there's some lovely ones. This one quite muted, to be honest. I actually really love this one. Yeah, really, really lovely. It's kind of like a sagey green, but it's very, very pretty, isn't it? Oops, sorry, just struggling with my papers now, slipping off the desk because I'm getting quite a big pile now up to the side of me. But they're very lovely, aren't they? And then for instance, this one, again, lots of these bird images, which if I had printed this on thicker paper, you could tear these out and use them on things. We definitely, I'm sure we tore some of these out and used them when we decorated the you know, the whale tail punch tabs that we did. So yeah, they're perfect for things like that. So lots of lovely yummy pages, and there's another one with, again, the birds. So very fun, nice set, that one. Right, this one, now I have to say, this one is like probably one of my most go-to papers that I use. So let me just again pull it up on the iPad so that I can tell you the amount of pages that you get. So hold on, it's just wearing away. So I'll start telling you about it before it actually bothers coming up. Oh, it's come up now. Hold on, I'm just struggling to find it on the list. So this is the Pink Roses collection, and you get 32 pages in this. These are, I would say, purely background pages, except for literally you get 1 or 2 collage style pages, which you will obviously see when we go through them. Again, please excuse the backs. Like I say, I've printed them all double-sided. But mainly for backgrounds. So absolutely perfect for either bases for pages or bases for pockets. Not really got the fussy cuttable elements, I wouldn't say, but absolutely perfect for making pockets and, you know, using as your base pages. So I just absolutely love these pages so much. They're probably, yeah, probably my most go-to set that I use, you know, and just, yeah, use it over and over and over again. And you've got quite a few different styles. So you've got the brighter roses, you've got the muted pages, you know, you've got this with more leaves, so much more green in it. You know, lots of different colorways, this with, you know, a heavily pink based kind of background. And then you have got these couple of pages, which were the collage pages I was referring to. So these are obviously more fussy cuttable pieces. And you've got two of these different. So you could obviously cut out the images or tear them out and things to use more like toppers. Of course, you can use these as pockets and base pages as well, but I would say more that I would use them in a sort of fussy cut type style. So all of these. Now, please excuse my printer. It's been really playing up, and in fact, I've got a new printer on the way. So yeah, I've tried to print borderless, but the printer's just not having any of it. It's been a bit of a struggle getting it to print at all, which is why it's taken me weeks and weeks and weeks to actually put these videos together, because my goodness, the printing's been like the bane of my life for all those weeks, to be honest, just trying to get all the collections pages to actually print off. So yeah, it's all been a bit of a nightmare, but hopefully kind of doing better. Now, obviously, like I say, I have printed these double-sided, most of them, because I was trying to save on paper. So what I might do is put some printed paper pads together, which will be double-sided paper pads. Now, I haven't done that before. They've always been single-sided. So these will be double-sided. Now, the caveat that I would add there is obviously what I will do is I will coordinate them facing page upwards, if you see what I mean. And then whatever is on the back will just be a bonus. The chances are it will not coordinate with, you know, the paper on the front. The chances are it might not coordinate with any of the papers in the whole paper pad. You generally get, I think it's 25 sheets in one of the printed paper pads, but all of the front facing ones will be coordinatable, but the undersides might be, you know, something completely different. I mean, for example, here, I mean, as it happens, that coordinates perfectly, but you could have just as easily had that as a front and a back. So, you know, personally, I wouldn't put those two together. So that's the type of thing. So I just want to kind of put that out there, that just because they're in the paper pad, the only ones that I would say are definitely thoughtfully coordinated are the front facing, you know, the facing upwards pages. The bonus or the back pages are bonus prints, I suppose. So, you know, you may get things that are brilliant and work well together, or they may be quite clashy. You know, I mean, again, that I think that looks okay together, but it could have easily not looked good together at all. So yeah, let me know if you think that would be a nice thing, if you would enjoy having double-sided paper pads. So I know that the paper pads are quite handy for people who particularly don't have a printer, or, you know, don't have access to like the presentation type style paper, or, you know, can't get their printer to print borderless and things. But, you know, would you like them being double-sided? I mean, this is a prime example of papers which do not go together front and back. But, you know, these, let's just say this was a paper pad and it was this way up. These underside would be bonus pages, you know. So, yeah, let me know what you think. I mean, obviously, they will be slightly dearer than the single-sided ones, because you're getting, you know, technically you're getting 50 sides of printed papers instead of 25. But they won't be double, don't worry. Right, this one here is the Muted Steampunk, I think this is called. So let me just double check this. So sorry about this, having to have my iPad here to the side and double check the names, but honestly, you kind of come to the point where you can't remember. Right, this is the Muted Steampunk collection. So steampunk, again, it's a style that, you know, I do really like when I see other people do steampunk. I haven't really ever done a steampunk journal myself, but maybe it's time that I did. But they're very fun images. And for me personally, who would possibly struggle with some of the images, I mean, I don't like mind you know, the gentlemen and things, because actually I quite like using the men pictures like on photographs and things. But just generally, I maybe would struggle like with the machinery aspect and things like that. Oh, this was, sorry, this is the 35 page collection. The nice thing with this is, although it has like the machinery kind of cogs and wheels and that kind of thing aspect, i.e. here, it's in very girly colours. So therefore, if you're someone like me who would possibly struggle a bit by using steampunk images, this is still girly colours. So you're still going to get a very pretty journal, even though the theme is more industrial. So yeah, I think they're kind of, you know, quite nice like that, and, you know, quite unique in that. I haven't really seen steampunk before done in such girly colours. So I hope that you like them and think that they're really pretty. But yeah, I probably should do some sort of steampunk journal just to have a play with these, because I do really like the look of them, to be honest. But yeah, lots of fussy cut elements in these, like, you know, you could fussy cut him, the balloons, you know, lots of fussy cut images, which be very fun to use and obviously cut out individually. Love this with the cars, very, very cute. Got this one here. So they're really nice, aren't they? Now I have to say, when I made the steampunk collection papers, I got super carried away, and so there is actually a second colourway for the steampunk, which I will run through. Oh, not sure whether these might have already now gone into them. I'm not sure, if I'm truthful. Yep, we've got a darker set of steampunk, which actually now I'm thinking maybe hasn't printed off. Or maybe it didn't print off. Right, okay, so there is a second set of steampunk papers, which, yeah, now I'm wondering whether it's not printed, to be honest. So to give you an idea anyway, it's very similar colours to the muted, but it's darker. So this obviously very similar, but much darker kind of hues. So let me see if I can find this similar page in the pale, so as I can just give you a, oops, here we go. So they're very similar page, but as you can see, this one is much darker than this. So if you prefer kind of a more muted kind of tone, you might prefer this one. If you prefer kind of like stronger colours, darker, this might be the alternative for this. And of course, just because that happened to be the similar page, there are, of course, many pages which are unique. So this one, for example, I don't think you get this in the muted collection, and this one as well. So, you know, they're kind of, they are still different, even though there are some pages which are similar, but darker or lighter. So now I've lost track completely, obviously, of which was in the dark and which was in the lights. So I do apologise, but I think we're back to, the muted now. Very frustrating. I wish that I had noticed that before I started filming, because I would have obviously sorted those out. But like I say, it's been a bit of a monumental task actually just getting all the papers printed off. So it's, yeah, been frustrating because my printer's been playing up so much. Right, so we've got this one, which is the steampunk in the browns. So the steampunk in the muted, you get 35 pages. The steampunk collection, that's just all it's called, which was the sort of slightly darker colourway, you get 30 pages. And then in the browns, you get 40 pages. So I clearly got carried away with the browns. But I just couldn't stop with the browns, because look at those colours together. I mean, I love, love, love that green so much. And against those browns, wow, it just looks so awesome, doesn't it? So yeah, I kind of got carried away and couldn't stop myself. So this is a 40-page download. And again, perfect for, you know, like if you want a really vintage looking journal, obviously these are possibly the set for you, because it's, you know, very, very vintage looking with all these browns. So really, really, really lovely. Like I say, I mean, steampunk probably not really my thing, but I think these pages, to be honest, are quite girly and definitely capture a different side to the steampunk than you know, the traditional sort of more very heavily based machinery style that possibly I've seen before. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know which one would be your favourite sort of colourway. Do you like the greens and the browns like these? Do you like the pinks, or do you like the stronger kind of darker sort of colours, which obviously we only have 1 or 2 pages from those, but I just do really, really love these pages, I have to say. So yeah, might have to do a steampunk journal because it's looking really, really lovely. You know, now I'm looking through them, I'm like, oh, I must do a journal with some of these, because my goodness, I really like a lot of these pages, which again, forgotten about really. So yeah, I mean, these, for example, you know, you've got some other things on the back. Oh, in fact, this one I've obviously printed completely by mistake. Look at what this is. Oh, if I can get it to look. This is a sheet of labels, which I've obviously put in by mistake on my printer. So we've got the labels here. Not that I can get them to peel up. Oh, the labels might be on this side, actually. Look, that's actually labels. And then on the reverse side, I've printed on the reverse side. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know really whether I will be able to use that on anything, but put that to one side, I think. So this one obviously probably showing quite different colours to reality, because obviously it's on that label paper, which of course is not the presentation quality paper. Okay. But they're really, really lovely papers, aren't they? So yeah, I do really, really love them. I love this page with this man on it. They're really, really nice, aren't they? Yeah. And I really like these pages with the balloons actually as well. Really lovely. And you do get this page in all of the colourways, but obviously in different colours. So yeah, lots of lovely ones. And I'm sure that there is there's a Steampunk Fussy Cuts set as well, which go, again, they would coordinate with all 3 of the collection papers. So whichever set you have, you would find that the Fussy Cuts kind of pick up and go with. So, you know, if you wanted to have a look at those, then do have a look, because lots of fun elements in there that you could fussy cut out and things like that. And like I say, that's an 11-page download, so loads and loads of fun things you can do with those. So that's those papers. Right, next along we've got the Perfume collection, which, let me pull that one up, hold on. Perfume, just coming up, hold on. Okay, so again, with the Perfume collection, I have got 2 different perfume collections. So we've got, oh, I don't know what's happened there, but for some reason it's come off the screen. Hang on. We've got 2 different perfume collections. So we've got, oh, I'm so sorry. This is now playing up and it's come on the screen and now it's come off. There's 2 different sets of the perfume collection. There is this, which is the light perfume collection, which for some reason my screen is not working now. It's just flicking off every time that I try and go on it. And then there's also the perfume ephemera and fussy cut pieces. And then there's a dark one. Now my dark one's still on the printer at the moment, printing off. So I'm hoping that that will be finished and then I can show you the dark as well, or the bright. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of these. So these are the pale perfume collection papers, like this. Now, again, a few little tips of what I would kind of do with some of these, because again, some of them are quite busy or obviously quite big images. So for example, these, now what I've tended to do, obviously, oh, as it happens, this one is not double-sided, so that's handy. I would try and cut this down in half, and then I would coffee dye this, probably just on the back and not on the front. Coffee dye it, cut it in half, and then I would make like a flippy pad or one of those wraparound ephemera type pieces. So, you know, basically on this side, I'd put a whole bunch of other pages, staple them at the top, fold them into thirds like that, and that would be like a little bundle of pages. So that's kind of an idea for these. Or alternatively, you could print these maybe like 2 to a page, and then they'd be obviously smaller, and you could cut these out, coffee dye them again, and use them as like part of a flippy pad and things. And I would do that with lots and lots of the little images in these sets. So you've got tons and tons of gorgeous, what would you call these? Like the perfume advert cards, would that be? Or perfume logos, perfume labels, maybe they would be. So you've got lots of those that you would be able to take down and obviously use in that way. And then you've also got a lot of different fussy cuts and things that you could also be using. So now I'm now wondering whether this is now got some of the brights in with it. Oh, honestly, my printer has driven me to distraction. So this could now, I'm thinking, have the brights in with the pales. I'm not entirely sure, if I'm truthful. Honestly, it's become so confusing looking through, you know, endless printing of papers. So I'm going to just stick with what I think, you know, confidently is the pale perfumes, or the light perfumes. Probably not that one. But you get some beautiful colours. And of course you get lots of perfume bottles, which would all be fussy cuttable out of the paper. So you've got pages like this, for example, where you've got a background page, and you've got one with the perfume bottles, which you could then cut out individually. So again, you know, maximum kind of options for using it like that. Okay, and loads of these, like I say, the perfume labels, which are just so handy for cutting out and using individually. So, you know, endless possibilities for all of the label type pieces. Again, a perfume bottle there. I'm so sorry, the papers are just dropping down constantly. And here. So I'm going to run off to the printer, and hopefully my brights are printed now. Okay, so luckily the printer had finished. So I'm going to very quickly run you through these. So these are the perfumes in the brights. Again, beautiful pages. I'm sorry that it's gone a bit curly. It's because they were all obviously then piled up on the printer and curled up a little bit. But yeah, lovely images. And I love the fact, like this page, for example, you could cut out the frames with the perfume bottle. You could cut out this little section. And these are perfect size for things like paper clips. So, you know, you've got tons and tons there. So if you were like looking to just bulk make a ton of paper clips, you could just literally cut out a ton of these and then form them into paper clips, you know, really super quick and easy. And again, you've got these in the 3 different colorways. So you've got this gorgeous dark pink, you've got this gorgeous mustardy color, and you've got the gorgeous black. So, you know, really fun and really nice pieces. Then a whole bunch of gorgeous, yummy, bright colours. You've got this one with, again, the frames, but with the perfume adverts in the background as well. You've got this beautiful brownie type one. Again, this one, which you've got more of those framed images, which again, you could then print this shrunk down 2 to a page and then cut them out and obviously coffee dye the back, use them for flippy pads and things like that. Or you could print these on thicker paper, and then you could fussy cut these out to use as an individual topper. So lots of different options with things like this. So, you know, very fun to use. Obviously, I did do a launch of the perfume bottles. I'm not sure whether I ran through the perfume papers at that point or not, to be honest. But definitely we used some of the perfume toppers. So I will try and remember and link that video actually below. So if you hadn't seen those, you can check out what we did with the perfume toppers. But this is such a fun collection, honestly. I just really love these. And also a lot of these are brilliant for things like collaging. You know, you've got lots of little bits and bobs that you could use in collages and things. So, you know, don't just kind of like feel you're limited to just using them as, you know, a complete sheet of paper, but also for collaging. So I'm just going to quickly show you the last couple of these. Obviously there will be more videos yet because I haven't gone through all the collection papers yet. There are more to come, would you believe? So yeah, I'm going to call it quits like here, except I'm going to give you some ideas in a moment. But just a quick word here is, if you have a very busy page like this, for example, which, you know, I absolutely love the you know, the patterns and things on this paper, and I personally, you know, would struggle to want to cut into this, because yes, even though I can print more, I would of course want to be hoarding this. But one way that you could just use this, I think, really quite nice in a journal, is just turn it over, coffee dye the entire back, and then just fold it up, you know, tuck it in on itself and pop that into a journal. And then you've got an entire sheet that's suitable for journaling on, and you've obviously kept this whole gorgeous yummy piece of paper intact, which, you know, I then personally really like to do. So that's kind of an idea there. Now I'm just going to move the cloth from the desk here, so let me just move that out the way. I'm just going to sit on it because it makes my chair a bit more comfortable. Right, so a couple of little ideas that I promised that we would kind of have a look at. So here, for example, I've got some of those pale Steampunk collection papers, and what I've done, I've printed them 4 to a page. So straight away, you know, they're kind of like different looking because they're smaller. They're obviously on this thick 250 GSM paper. And then what you could do, I'll just cut these down like that. So straight away, I think these are quite cool to use as either journal cards. So you could obviously coffee dye them, coffee dye the backs and things. You could do marks on the back to turn them into like a postcard on the back, things like that. Or what you could do, I'll just take this down. So let's take this one, for example. I've got this one with the cars, which I really do like anyway, but I'm going to take it down like that. Okay, cut that down. So for this one, I would recommend probably, well, not would recommend, but you know, one idea I suppose for this would be, if you cut this in half, straight away you've got kind of like a journal card on its own. So not really cut that very neatly like that. Okay, just literally could buff that up on the edges. Something like that. I mean, this is why it's quite nice to have the variety of paper sizes, because then it gives you obviously options for when you're using things. But just think around, obviously, like that. Okay, just ink there. So you could use that just as a little journal card straight away into, you know, into a pocket. So that's, you know, and you've got 2 obviously out of there, so that's quite nice. You could take this and you could pop it onto there as a pocket onto there, so straight away you've got then like a slot pocket that we've made in the mass makings. So that's like another alternative. Let me just ink this up. Okay, I mean, again, obviously I've not coffee dyed any of this. It's all just, you know, on white card at the moment. Like that. Just ink it up on the back. So, you know, in an ideal world, obviously I would have probably coffee dyed the back of this at least. So I seem to have stopped coffee dyeing the front so much because sometimes I think it can just spoil the pretty colours. So I just try and coffee dye the back. And to be honest, you get that lovely texture as if it's been coffee dyed by just doing that. So straight away you can have it there, could have it that side, you know, completely different look. And then obviously, I'll just show you, you know, put some sari silk on there or something. Let me see if I've got a different colour. Oh, I've got that gorgeous minty green that I love so much. Could put that down there, could put it across there, could put it across the top. So straight away, that's just a little something you could do. You could use this one obviously on its own, whoops, and just staple on like a ribbon or a piece of sari silk, just staple it on there and instantly you've got a little tag then with a tab. So very quick and easy. You could glue that onto just some other coloured paper. So let me just see what I've got here. So here, for example, I've just got some coffee dyed card. You could just glue it onto there like that with a border and then cut around there. And that would make it, you know, a bit more to it, a bit more of a substantial journal card. And then just ruffle some, I'm just checking which side I want this. So I'm going to do this, oops, ruffle some sari silk at the top. Oh no, my glue now is not playing the game. Hold on 2 minutes. Okay. Hold on. Sorry about this. So I've not used my glue for a while and now it's not dried up, but you know, not wanting to come out anyway. So yep, pop that down there. Just pop it on here like that. Okay, and then just, in fact, could even leave like, you know, like a Polaroid picture from back in the day where they had obviously the, you know, they had that long or thick bit at the bottom, couldn't they? You could then put some sari silk across there or something, you know, loads of different things that you could do. You could put some up there. You could even make this then a little flap. So I just fold that in. Oops. So then, oh gosh, I've not done this straight at all, but it's because I'm just trying to rush to show you some examples, but my goodness. Right, looks a bit better. And then that could just be like a fold down flap on, you know, for example, if this was going to be a pocket on a page, you know, that's perfect already. And you could put this on here as a little flap. You could put some sari silk across the top. So let's just quickly do that. I'm getting really hungry. It's like way past lunchtime. But I really wanted to get this video done because I'd finally got enough, you know, to be able to do it. And like I say, it's been taking me weeks and weeks to get these papers to all print. So, you know, finally today I thought, well, I've actually got quite a lot now. So otherwise it becomes too overwhelming if I print them all off. So like that. And then what we could do is either have the other piece as a slot pocket on there. So like that. And you'd have then a pocket there. Or you could just fussy cut out the car and just pop the car down on here. So I'm going to use this as a little slot pocket. Let me just neaten that up a bit. Oh my goodness, not making a very good job of it. There we go. So just then ink around. Like that. Okay. And then this go here. And then this either in the middle or I guess to the side. It's probably a bit weird at the side. I think I prefer it in the middle. So I'm just going to pop this down here. So these are just some ideas for if you have that highly decorated paper. And I'm not just talking about digitals. Obviously, I'm talking about scrapbook papers and all sorts. You know, where I pick them in the shops because I love the, you know, the really decorative pages. And then sometimes I get home and think, oh, I'm not sure how I'm going to use that because, to be honest, it's now too decorative. You know, it's, I don't want to cut into it. I mean, I have to say, obviously, I'm worse with scrapbook paper because, of course, I can't then just print more. But, you know, all of those things. And then sometimes I just think, oh, I don't know how I'd use that, you know, in a project. So this is just some little ideas of the types of things that you can do. Let me just snip that down and try and get it straighter at the bottom. Like that. And then this, just going to sort of mitre those corners in. Like that. can then just glue this down like that. Okie dokie, and straight down, sort of in the middle. I mean, yeah, roughly speaking, hopefully somewhere roughly in the middle there, like that. So straight away, that's a gorgeous pocket for a junk journal. You've got a flip down like that, so you've got journaling space there. Let me just mop that glue out before I end up gluing this down, which I do all the time. Okay, right. So you've got the little fold down flap. You've got a pocket in here. And then, of course, you could then glue this down 3 sides and you'd have a top loading pocket as well. I mean, you could always add some more sari silk, you know, across the top of that pocket if you wanted, or maybe down the side to tie it in. Or, and this is not going to be long enough to tie into a bow, I think, but, you know, you could have something like that, tying that up. So you'd obviously glue this down onto there, and then you've got, you know, a tied up portion on that pocket. So it's just giving you some ideas of the types of things that you can do with the, you know, highly decorative type papers. This one, for example, I just happened to spot actually here. This was a cluster that I'd done using the Steampunk papers, as you can see. So super cute little piece here. You know, you could just pop that on to one of these, and then again decorate it up with, what have I done? Oh, I've used all that green, haven't I? Yeah, but you could just decorate it up with a little bit of, you know, oops, different coloured sari silk now, just because that's what I happen to have here. And then, you know, something like that, or perhaps I'll put it this side, in fact. There we go, something like that, and then a little tiny bit of bling, because I always love bling. Now I can't actually see any bling now. Oh my goodness, I've got a blingless situation going on. Oh no, here we go. So you could then just pop a little bit of bling on there or something. That across there, maybe add a butterfly or something. So I'm not saying that this one's the right colour, but it's not too bad. So something like that, just have onto there. And that is just the most simple little pocket, isn't it? But it looks so cute, and, you know, nothing at all to pull that together. So, and again, you know, I've not cut this one down, obviously, but same concept. Just have a couple of, you know, bits and pieces like that. I mean, how yummy does that pocket look? So again, just some more ideas really for using some of your very, very decorative papers. So yeah, I really hope that you've got some inspiration from that. Really hope that you like all the collection papers. Obviously, you know, if you've got any questions about them or anything, then please do comment in the chat below, you know, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. But yeah, they are all obviously on my Etsy shop. I am trying to fathom out a way that I can quite quickly move my items, or, you know, copy them over onto my other, you know, my website shop. But so far I'm struggling to do that because it's very, very, very time consuming. So as of this point, they're all just for sale on my Etsy shop. But yeah, and obviously there's lots more that I haven't shown you as well. But yeah, I really hope that you like them. I hope you feel inspired by, you know, these couple of little ideas here. And like I say, not just for digitals, but also for your very decorative scrapbook papers and things. Just some other alternatives and ways to use them. So yep, really appreciate a big thumbs up for this video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd really appreciate you subscribing. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks then. Bye.